Mr. Speaker, yesterday I stood side by side with our European and American allies and President Zelensky at the Coalition of the Willing meeting in Paris. Mr. Speaker, we made real progress on security guarantees, which are vital for securing a just and lasting peace. Along with President Macron and President Zelensky, we agreed a declaration of intent on the deployment of forces in the event of a peace deal. Mr. Speaker, we will set out the details in a statement at the earliest opportunity. I will keep the House updated as the situation develops, and were troops to be deployed under the declaration signed, I would put that matter to the House for a vote.
The last few days have seen significant international events. The US operation in Venezuela, threats towards Greenland, and an agreement to put British troops on the ground in Ukraine. So it is frankly astonishing that the Prime Minister is not making a full statement to Parliament today. No Prime Minister, Labour or Conservative, has failed to make a statement to the House in person after committing to the deployment of British troops. His comments about making a statement in due course, quite frankly, are not good enough. It shows a fundamental lack of respect for all of us here and the people we represent. Mr. Speaker, the US is Britain's closest military ally. However, we are clear that the sovereignty of Greenland is sacrosanct. So can the Prime Minister tell us what influence is he bringing to bear with the US administration to ensure that is respected?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me be very clear about what was agreed yesterday, because military plans were drawn up some months ago, and I've updated the House in relation to that. Yesterday was a political declaration that sits under those military plans. If there were to be deployment, there would have to be a legal instrument. Mr. Speaker, deployment would only be after a ceasefire to support Ukraine's capabilities, to conduct deterrent operations, and to construct and protect military hubs. Mr. Speaker, there will be a statement to the House at the earliest opportunity. There could hardly be an opportunity. They claim they want to know about this, and they're trying to shout me down. Mr. Speaker, in relation to the House, if there were a decision to deploy under the agreement that was signed yesterday, then I would put that matter to this House for a debate beforehand and for a vote on that deployment. That is consistent with recent practice, and I'll adhere to that.
Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, why is today not the earliest opportunity? The truth is, the Prime Minister does not want everybody in this House to be able to ask him questions. So he leaves it just to Prime Minister's questions half an hour. On Monday, at least his Foreign Secretary stood up for 2 hours and 15 minutes. It was a non-event, but at least she did that. He is scared of us being able to ask him questions. Yes. 6 questions. Yes, he's here.
Please. I've also requested that we do need an early statement. This House should always be informed first. So I don't like the chantering. Let the questions continue.
Well, one of them asked, but he is here. He's got no choice but to be here for Prime Minister's questions. That's why he's here. If he could skip this, we know he would do. But back to the matter at hand, Mr. Speaker. We all agree, all of us here agree, I think most of us here agree, that NATO is the bedrock of our security. The future of Greenland is of fundamental importance to the future of the alliance. And I am sure that the Prime Minister agrees that it is essential for NATO leaders, including and especially the US, to meet. Will the Prime Minister call for an urgent meeting of NATO leaders?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she says she wants to hear about Ukraine. She's got 6 questions. She's not even asking a second question about what we did yesterday. She's got the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, in relation...
Sorry, can I help the Prime Minister? You don't need to worry about the responsibility of the questions of the opposition. That's urgent.
Mr. Speaker, NATO is the single most important and effective military alliance the world has ever seen. In the 18 months we've been in power, I've done everything within my ability to strengthen NATO. We had one of the strongest NATO meetings last year, the summit, where we had more members of NATO and more unity. When I arrived back to the House to make a statement, which of course she asked for, her position was I shouldn't have missed PMQs, I should have empty-chaired the NATO summit. That's how serious she is about NATO, Mr. Speaker.
Kemi Badenoch.
You didn't answer the question, Mr. Speaker. I asked him if he would call for an urgent meeting of NATO leaders. We can all see that the situation is moving rapidly. I also note that he has still not had a call with President Trump. That is concerning 4 days after the events in Venezuela. But yesterday, he announced that Britain and France had signed, he says, a political agreement to put troops on the ground in the event of a peace deal in Ukraine. So given the Prime Minister is not making a statement about that deployment of British troops abroad, one of the most serious decisions a government and a parliament can take, irrespective of what he says, can he at least confirm how many troops would be sent to Ukraine and whether they would be in a combat role?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I was with NATO allies yesterday, all day, in which we were discussing security in Europe, in particular security guarantees for Ukraine, and we made significant progress. And I'm glad that she has welcomed that. Of course, I will speak to President Trump. I spoke to his senior advisers yesterday. We were with them all day. But, Mr. Speaker, she asked me about the deployment. We released the statement yesterday. It's clear from that, but I will be clear with the House that there would only be deployment after a ceasefire. It would be to support Ukraine's capabilities. It would be to conduct deterrence operations and to construct and protect military hubs. The number will be determined in accordance with our military plans, which we are drawing up and looking to other members to support. So the number I will put before the House before we were to deploy. But I'll do more than that. If we went as far as a legal instrument to deploy, which would be necessary, I would then have a debate in this House so all members could know exactly what we're doing, make their points of view, and then we would have a vote in this House on the issue, which, to my mind, is the proper procedure in a situation such as this.
Mr. Speaker, it is clear that the Prime Minister either does not have the detail or does not want to give us the detail. Yes. But this is important. He should be calling an urgent meeting of NATO leaders. He should have spoken to President Trump by now. This is important because if any such peace deal is breached, we would be in direct conflict with Russia. If the Prime Minister is committing troops, he must give more detail on how he intends to ensure our armed forces are fully resourced. Before the budget, the Prime Minister said it was his ambition to spend 3% on defence in the next Parliament. That could be as late as 2034. It is time to move from ambition to commitment.
Mr. Speaker, Geoffrey Robertson, KC, is a respected authority on international law. He's also the head of the Prime Minister's barrister chambers. And he couldn't be clearer. President Trump's actions in Venezuela are illegal. He says the United States, and I quote, is in breach of the United Nations Charter and has committed the crime of aggression, which the court at Nuremberg described as the supreme crime. Does the Prime Minister agree with his old mentor, or has he got it wrong?
Well, there's plenty of things that Geoffrey and I have agreed on and disagree with over the years, but let me set out our position. It is our long-standing position that Maduro was not a legitimate president in Venezuela. And so nobody, I think, sheds any tears at his removal. And what we need, what we were saying before the weekend, and we say again, is there needs to be a peaceful transition to democracy in Venezuela. Now, the benchmark of all actions of all countries is, of course, international law, and it is for the US to justify its actions accordingly. My focus is on the defence and security of the United Kingdom, and yesterday we were working with NATO allies, including the US, on security guarantees for Ukraine, and it's only with security guarantees that we'll have a just and lasting peace in Ukraine, which is vitally important for Ukraine, for Europe and for the United Kingdom.
Sir Ed Davey.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister just looks ridiculous when he won't tell the truth that Trump has broken international law. But turning to Donald Trump's next target, the Prime Minister was right to give the Danish Prime Minister his backing over Trump's threats to annex Greenland, and I welcome his joint statement with other European leaders. But does he also agree that if Trump does attack Greenland, it will be the end of NATO? And given that frightening possibility, does he accept that the UK needs to increase defence spending more quickly than currently planned and build new alliances with reliable nations?
Mr. Speaker, let me be. The Greenland issue is obviously very, very important. I thank him for raising it. The future of Greenland is for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark, and for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark alone. And yesterday, he will have seen that I put out a statement to that effect, along with fellow allies in Europe. And of course, NATO is hugely important, the single most effective and important military alliance the world has ever known. He keeps encouraging me to sort of tug away at parts of NATO and to choose between Europe and the US. That would be a strategic mistake for our country. And yesterday we were working with our NATO allies, including the US, our NATO ally, on a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. That will not happen without security guarantees from the coalition of the willing, backed by the United States. That's a vitally important issue, and we made progress on that. And there won't be a just and lasting peace in Ukraine without those security guarantees, and not achieving a just and lasting peace in Ukraine is not in our national interest, and that's why I'm applying so much time and energy to seeking to get that outcome.